Oh, snap now. I think we're ready tonight. Oh, this one for the girls that like to dance in the chair. You don't never need help to know. Then the cool brother walk up, but she not the one that he want to dance with. They usually want to dance with his friend, but they ain't gonna say, "Hey, go get your friend." My man will walk up and say, "Yo, excuse me, Miss Lady, would you like to dance?" And she's like, "No, that's okay, not right now." Doing good. Whatever you do. 5 minutes later, you see her dancing with your boy. You're like, careful. Only the B word with it. Oh, yeah. What's up, people? How y'all doing? What you look like when you're doing what you're doing. It's what you're doing when you're doing it. What you look like doing. Oh, what's up, classmate? How you doing, girl? We're doing it on the moon. We're doing it on the moon, y'all. In the jungle too. Everybody on the floor now. Jumping like the kangaroos. So let's hold to the thing they do. That's the one that always hurt my neck. That down Reebok, they call that. Can't mess with that one no more. I can still carry that. If it is, oh, this is a club called Bottom Line. If you're from New Orleans, you know something about that Bottom Line, huh? That Dougie Fresh and Bottom Line. Don't do it, do it, Joe. Don't do it, don't do it. Get it. Spread yourself. Oh. Spread yourself. Do it, Lord, Lord. A-E-I-O-U, A-E-I-O-U. Sometimes why two. I might pop on y'all. Oh man. I have to get up, otherwise I get that robot on y'all like Mike. Remember Michael used to do that robot? He was that skinny? Shout out to the brothers back at the what was his name? The Devonport boy. Not Warren. Jerry. Yeah, that boy was as skinny as Michael, probably as skinny as than JJ back in the day, but could dance his butt off. What's happening, people? How y'all doing? Let me see. I should do it one more again. But I ain't. I'm gonna behave. How y'all doing, people? How y'all doing? How your mama now? Everybody good? All right. Yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Damn, it's 7:30. I'm right on the bat, huh? I'm right on it. Been working on this one, this show for a minute. So here we go, people. I was going to give other people a couple chances, a couple minutes to get in here, but I'm going to go ahead and get started because usually I'm running behind for whatever reason. I think I got all of my little issues squared away. So here we go. I got good signal everywhere. So yeah, I'm representing the Woo tonight. I want to say good evening, welcome everybody to the show. Appreciate you guys sharing your Thursday night with me. Last time we had this many black people in the same place, it was what, the Cosby Show or Different World? Different World. Anyway, I guess Thursday night has always been Black TV night or Black issue night, uh, a time for Black families to get together. So I guess I'm following in that tradition, at least in my own sick mind. I think that I am. So again, I appreciate you guys sharing your Thursday night with me. Tonight, I want to talk about a couple of things. We're at a point where we're going to talk about two things. First of all, we're going to talk about things that we can control. Then we're going to talk about things that we can't control, but how we put pressure on those who can control the things that we can't control. And we got 39 days, people. One thing that we can control is our behavior and how we act leading up to November the 3rd. I know this seems like this last 8, 9 months has taken forever, especially with this corona being just nonstop. But in addition to that, I guess it's exacerbated by the fact that we got an imbecile, or a few imbeciles really, excuse me, and I've been saying this for a while, who's been pushing the envelope. So tonight we're going to talk about a little bit of that. What are the things that we can control? We can't control what I call the desperate and greedy people like Trump and Moscow Mish and now Mitt Romney. He's become the Mormon wild card. That's what I call him, the Mormon wild card. Let me just be perfectly clear. I'm not picking on Mormons. I don't care what your religion is. I don't care if you're self proclaim conservative, progressive, liberal. I don't care if you're straight. I don't care if you're gay. I don't care if you're gender neutral. I don't care what your thing is. Whatever it is, you do you. You understand? Problem is, we all live in this one world where we have to learn to be tolerant of each other. And it's when the rich, the powerful, and the wealthy come together to try to dominate us that have little or nothing. I refer to us as the have nots, and them being the haves, that we have this problem. We're jockeying because amongst there's 1 to 3% of the people that controls about 90% of the wealth here in America. So it leaves the other 97% of us to fight for 10%. And as long as they can keep us fighting amongst ourselves, then 90% is safe. So we have to keep pressure on them. Those are things that we can't control. We can't redistribute wealth overnight. But what we can do is we can demand a fair shake at the 10% that we earn and make sure that they don't take from our 10%. These people have been losing their mind now that Ruth Bader Ginsburg has passed. They've been salivating, they've been trying to push something through because I think, I think we're at a place where America is just sick of the foolishness. They're sick of the shenanigans in the White House and in Congress, and they're ready for a change. That's what I'm seeing. Um, what we have to do, we have to let these greedy, wealthy people know that, first of all, they're public servants. So there's a consequence to their actions when they don't do what we want them to do. And that consequence is we're either going to vote them out, and it seems that Kentucky is never going to vote out Mitch. So the only way we can neutralize Mitch and Mitt Romney is by overturning at least 4 or 5 of those chairs from Republican to Democrat. And I say 5 or 6 really because there's always one, either blue dog Democrat or one maverick who wants to do what he or she wants to do just to be different, unlike the Republicans who toe the party line. So if we can turn 5 or 6 of those chairs from red to blue, then we can neutralize Mitch, then take back the White House, and we can assist Joe in doing some of the things that we need to do and get this country back, not only for us, but back on track around the world. We have to let them know that we are excited, we're engaged, we're energized, and we're just not going to take this shit anymore. For the last 8 weeks, I saw the Black Lives Movement start to falter. We all knew that the powers to be would not allow the Black Lives Movement to be sustainable. We knew that universal support would fade as soon as it was not on front page news or the 24-hour news cycle changed. So I'm not surprised by that at all. This was proven this past week in England when a dance group called Diversity, among of all things, they're called Diversity. They did a dance routine, and I posted it on my page. So I invite you to go back and look at it. And the dance was so powerful, it depicted everything from um, George Floyd being choked to death with Chauvin the Chump's knee to somebody ascending to heaven. So it was very powerful. But the thing about it that let us know that all of this was coming to an end is that the show, it's Britain's version of America's Got Talent. So it's called Britain's Got Talent. The show received supposedly over 15,000 negative comments and remarks. See, I anticipated this. This is why, for the last 3 or 4 weeks, you've been seeing me on edge and me losing it emotionally and otherwise, not being able to give you the full message simply because I anticipated this. This is nothing new here in America. This is just how they do what they do. When it comes to something like the Jews and Holocaust, or it comes to 9/11, is never forget. When it comes to a black issue, is oh, get over it. You understand? That was last week, last month, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Um, in passing, and this was so cool to me. She took Biggie Small's name and referred to somebody referred to as the notorious RBG. But in passing, as in life, she's trying to make a difference. Her dying wish was that her seat not be filled on the Supreme Court until after the elections, in anticipation that there would be another president, namely Biden, because she knows it's necessary to have that balance. So in Marine Corps boot camp, we referred to our countdown in this illustrious way. We would say X number of days in the wake up. Because of that, I decided to name this show. Tonight's show is titled 39 Days in the Wake Up. So let's do this. First thing we're going to kind of talk about is martyrs and corruption. Every time somebody black dies, we get a new martyr. Whether it was, George Floyd, whether it was Trayvon Martin, whether it was Breonna Taylor, so forth and so on. The list just goes on and on and on. We start to make some headway, and then the powers that be change the narrative, and somehow Black Lives Matter doesn't matter anymore. It loses focus. The problem with this model is we become desensitized to Black people dying needlessly, and it becomes America's norm. It took this preponderance of martyrships for everybody to come up and say, you need to stop killing Black people. This is not normal. This is not right. And that's where we were, but we're losing ground. So I try to keep it on the front burner. A, because going into November, we need to let Mr. Biden and Ms. Harris know that we have an agenda to move this thing forward. When we talk about the countless number of Black people, and especially Black men, who have been slaughtered by those who have taken an oath to protect and serve, the police come back and talk about how difficult their job is. But then they never explain why it's so easy to take an armed white man carrying an assault rifle into custody without the use of deadly force. When we ask the obvious questions, how is it an armed white man who just committed mass murder can be taken into custody without incident, yet an unarmed Black man poses such a threat that the only way you can subdue him is by use of deadly force with 4 or 5 bullets, takes his life away or a knee. We're told that we somehow are racist for demanding justice. We're told that we are somehow the villains for demanding change. When George Floyd or Breonna Taylor or Ahmaud Arbery, countless others, sacrifices transformed them into martyrs, they were vilified. Everybody talked about what they did. You know, he smoked weed and she dated a drug dealer, and he went into an empty house and some things came up missing and so forth and so on. By vilifying this person, they're trying to make their actions somehow justifiable. But the problem with that is when somebody has not allegedly, you catch them literally with smoking gun in hand. You make excuses for why they did what they did. They're mentally ill. They lost a dog, and they were abused as a kid. They didn't get enough crayons and coloring books, and all of that's bullshit. It's nonsensical because the bottom line is they should be examined the same way. But when someone dies unarmed and hasn't done anybody anything, the last thing that should be taken into account is what they did 15 minutes or 15 years ago. So that's the problem. The flip side to this is when we talk about the history of the cop who's committed the murder, then is whitewashed. Derek Chauvin had 19 complaints in 18 years. So that was 19 opportunities to intervene and stop this man before he took a life. So not only should those 4 police officers should be held accountable, but system, and this is what we're talking about with systematic racism and systematic need for systematic reform. Those people should be held accountable as well because they allowed this to fester. They allowed this campfire to become this wildfire burning out of control. The other problem to this is when it happens, there's this unlimited amount of defense funds through GoFundMe or otherwise, some police union or what have you, to hire a dream team that even OJ would envy. Whenever a cop is included or involved in an incident, he or she is given time to collect a thought, let the excitement subside. They're coached on what to say, and their stories are brought in order, in line with each other, so that they jive, so that they connect, so that they support one another. But when there's 1 or 2 people, even when we have a camera, they're telling us that we didn't see what we said we saw. What we really saw was this is not black and gold, this is purple and green. So we need to have that. Those who oppose Black Lives Matter in their corruption, turn a blind eye to the racist police. It's obvious because Trump decided to make law enforcement part of his cult following. And he did that by when they first he encourages them to do wrong, and then he defends them by saying he wasn't even there, but he could see somehow how they were fighting for their safety. To those who murder Black people, there's always a GoFundMe page just ready and waiting. Just insert the next name, be it Cop or George Zimmerman or whomsoever it may be. Since we lost Chadwick Boseman, network TV has been honoring him by airing his movies that he starred in. One of my favorite Chadwick Boseman movies is called 21 Bridges. And I'm sure some of you guys have seen it. It's been on network TV, and I think it's out there now. It tells the story of a second generation cop. His dad was killed in the line of duty, and he becomes a cop. And he has a kind of a gunslinger reputation, but he says that he never drew first, like a gunslinger, and that he never took a life that didn't deserve to die. The second generation cop is trying to find out how 8 New York City cops are killed in the line of duty in a so called botched drug robbery. Because the true villains is this precinct captain and at least 50% of the 85th precinct, the movie did not get the same critical acclaim as Black Panther. The second storyline in this movie, or the subplot, is what happens to some of us who serve in the military. We are forever changed and we find it hard to adjust when we come back. We're never the same person. You know, people that knew me before the military, and even now, they'll say, I didn't know that you were that wild or crazy. That people that really knew me could see, you know, my sense of humor and the fact that I had this going for me. But people that did not know me didn't know how outgoing I was. Um, but that's the military for you. So that was the subplot in this movie. Um, these guys were in way over their head. They were too private military, but I won't go through the movie. Nonetheless, Boseman, as always, he was riveting in his portrayal of an honest cop in search of the truth, no matter where it took him. An honest cop who was committed to bring the guilty to justice, no matter who that guilty person or parties were. So one of the things that was so true to life that pissed me off is this corrupt female drug cop who he was forced to partner with. She murdered the young Black suspect who was trying to expose what happened. When he realized that he knew from the beginning that something wasn't right. And he kept trying to tell his boy, yo, man, we need to just walk away. And his boy, possessed by not being able to adjust and seeing more than he'd ever saw before and a chance for a real life, he just couldn't let it go. He was gone. He was gone. The military certainly changed him. So he was a totally different person. Of course, she shot him after he surrendered, claiming that she feared for Boseman's life. Let's move on. When we talk about the Supreme Court of the United States Supreme Court, the highest court in the land, what makes this court so important is it changed everything in America, from Brown versus the Board of Education to Plessy v. Ferguson to Roe v. Wade, so forth and so on. And a lot of this, Thurgood Marshall had a lot to do with, but it wasn't just him. Since then, there's been a balance between the so called conservatives and the so called liberals. But the balance is about doing what's right. It's not about one person or one party's agenda to be pushed. All along, I've been saying that Trump is not that smart. All along, I've been saying that the events that have taken place in the last 4 years uh, is Mitch's agenda. This is something that Moscow Mitch has been trying to do since he arrived on Capitol Hill back in 1984. He's always been trying to push this agenda. Poorest state in the 50 in the United States, the poorest of the 50 states is Kentucky. Conversely, the richest senator in the US Congress is Mitch McConnell. Go figure. And somehow the state of Kentucky sends him back year after year after year. So he's been there since before half of Black Lives Matter was even born. Trump, a couple of days ago, Trump admitted what I've been saying all along. Publicly, he admitted that Mitch urged him to forget about ambassadors and start stacking the federal judgeships because that was how you effect change in America. Why? Because federal judges become U.S. Supreme Court justices that reshape things like Brown versus the Board of Education and Roe versus Wade, telling a woman what she could do with her body and making abortions illegal. I can just see the Honorable Thurgood Marshall doing flip flops in his grave. I can see him and others not resting in peace because their life's work is being un- overthrown, and overturned. And it just it chokes me up, people, and it's unnecessary. But I'm not going to get caught up tonight. I promise you. We see how the rich and powerful protect themselves and their wealth. They make their immoral they make their immoral laws legal so that they can hold on to their money and keep that other 97% fighting for little or nothing, divide and conquer. Kingsbury's death was no sooner announced before Mitch was salivating and talking about pushing Trump's nominee through the Senate to have him or her approved and sitting on the court before the election. With less than 40 days, they're trying to get a nominee confirmed. Why? Because they know America as a whole has had enough and we're ready to act. So we have to stay energized. We have to let them know that there's a consequence. Trump's excuses, he doesn't believe that Beta's dying request was that she not be replaced until after the election. He says that it was somehow the Democrats who came up with this. It did my heart good. Today I posted a story. This man had the audacity, after saying this, calling her granddaughter a lie and not honoring her wishes, he had the audacity to go to her memorial. And he was, the first time he wore a goddamn mask, he was booed. He was booed with chants of vote him out, vote him out, vote him out, vote him. It did my heart so much good because I'll be honest with you. I was starting to feel like this thing was slipping away from us. I was starting to feel like the Democrats are not doing enough to sway the American public that Biden and Harris is the best choice over Trump and Pence. Of course, Trump does what the coward does. He turned and ran away. He and Melania both. So this week we're going to talk about this or that. This or that's fact. This or that's fact. Trump has this commercial that says Biden is going to raise taxes. He took a soundbite from what Biden really said. So that's a diss. He's lying again. What Biden really said is if you make over $400,000, I will raise your taxes because you need to pay your fair share. That's that. Trump made a commercial, lying as usual, that with Biden, crime is going to run rampant. He's going to remove police. Like, what are we going back to? What, the old West where everybody carried a gun? Oh, we already have that. But no, he took the truth, a snippet, and made it into what he wanted it to say. So this, the truth of the matter is, Biden said he doesn't encourage lawlessness, but he understands that protesting is necessary. He says that there's a need for police reform so that Black people don't continue to die at the hands of those sworn to protect and serve them. That's the truth. Again, that's fact. Then he lied about Biden and cutting Social Security and welfare. He's given two tax breaks to the richest 1 to 3% of America in the last 2 years. In 2017 and 2019, he gave two tax breaks. The reason the second stimulus check was held up because the first time most of us got a check for $1,200. The rich and uber wealthy got a check for $1,000,005, $1.5 million. This time he wanted, in addition to them getting money, he wanted them to have another tax break, just in case he doesn't win in November. If he could get it passed now, while he and Mitch are partners in crime, then it was secured at least for another 4 years. That's what they were pushing for. That's why you're not getting another stimulus check, people. So remember that when you go to the poll. 39 days, let's get it done. Biden has talked about healthcare. To fund these tax breaks, we got to get the money from somewhere. So they're trying to balance the budget with the tax that we're using for Social Security and Medicare and divert that to the tax break for the rich and uber wealthy. We're not having it, people. We have to let them know that there's a consequence. We can't control what they do, but we can control who we vote for. So if you live in Kentucky, if you live in Utah, if you live in Colorado, if you live in Florida, if you live in Texas, if you live in Ohio, if you live in Michigan, all of these are battleground states. You need to make sure that you talk to people and have them understand what is happening so that we can get those people out of here. Any vote that's not for Biden, any vote that's not blue is against you. It's simple as that. I'm not going to get caught up. Promise you, I'm not going to get caught up. I'm not. But the thing that really gets me about Biden and healthcare, he talks about how Obamacare is near and dear his heart. And that's as sincere, as authentic as anybody can be, especially a politician. I've been saying since 2016, I've been saying since January the 21st of 2017, when this orange imbecile took office, that Biden is the person to take him down. Biden is the right choice because he doesn't have anything to prove. He's at a point in his life. He comes from a blue collar background, but he hasn't forgotten where he's come from. He's not a perfect person, but he's evolved over the years, and that's what's important right now. We've got people up in there like Mitch. We got people up in there in this. Incidentally, I posted this today too. I wasn't going to talk about it, but since I'm here, to hell with it, I'm going to talk about it. The Attorney General for the state of Kentucky is this house Negro who's been on his knees so long, he clerked for Mitch McConnell. Now he just married this young girl, and it doesn't matter that he's black and she's white. So let's not focus on that. What does matter is rumor has it, and I've been trying to determine what her relationship is, but rumor has it that she's related to Mitch McConnell. Some say it's his niece, some say it's his granddaughter. I don't know what it is. But after they got married, and prior to him making the announcement that no cop will be held accountable for Breonna's murder, they tried to scrub her cyber footprint and her background. Her name is Mackenzie Evans. They tried to scrub it, so finding information on her is slim to none. In every news story, they refer to him as Daniel New Negro and his wife. I think his name is Cameron. I think they spell it Oreo or something. I don't know. I can't remember. But anyway, it is what it is. This is what happens on his page. In all of his literature, he doesn't refer to himself as Attorney General. He refers to himself as politician. So that tells the story right there. When somebody tells you who they are, believe him. He could care less about the people of Kentucky. And the poor black folks in the state of Kentucky said they thought they had hope when they looked at him and they saw a man of color. I've always said all that glitters ain't gold, and all that's black certainly ain't bold. So do your homework, people. He's not the only one. There's so many out there. Like I said, the Shaquille O'Neals, the Tracy Morgans, the Morgan Freemans, the Little Waynes, and I know he's from New Orleans. I could give a. You understand what I'm saying? I will not support them. Since Shaq has become this pitch man for Papa John, not only, and I haven't bought Papa John since they helped to fund George Zimmerman's defense against Trayvon Martin. I have not had a Papa John's morsel since then, and I won't have one. But since Shaq has been with the company, some folks of color look at the big smiling comical guy and they forget about the history of Papa John. So let's not support those people who are knitting a rope to hang us with, both literally and figuratively. The last thing is, I have to diss. Trump has criminalized standing up for your rights and protesting. He has somehow awarded those that will arm themselves and instigate the protesters. That is the biggest diss that I could ever give. If this was in living color, they would say two snaps in a circle. You know, hated it. That's the utter. Ooh, I can't. I'm not going. I'm not going. I'm not going. Usa, Usa. I got the clan with me. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good, people. I'm good. So we have all of these smear campaigns going on. We have to do something about it. We know who Biden is. By now, we know. We know that Kamala is there to help out. We see her trying to, or I hope, wish, and pray that she's touched and she evolves to the point that she will not allow to happen on her watch as vice president, which she allowed to happen on her watch as attorney general. But one thing's for damn sure, we know that it'll be better than what we've had these last 4 years. So for that, done with that. Let's move on. The last word, promise. I kept it together, people. I kept it together. For the last few weeks, I've been on edge, trying to control shit beyond my control. But that's what superheroes do. They overextend themselves. I am the epitome of doing too much and caring about shit when it's not my turn to give a shit. I apologize for my profanity, but I use profanity not to cuss, but as an exclamation point. As I started doing my research for this show, I was reminded of the song, Where Have All the Flowers Gone? And I didn't just think of George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor or Black Lives Matter. I thought of Ruth Bader Ginsburg and I thought of John Lewis and then I thought of John McCain and then I thought of Thurgood Marshall and many, many, many others, from the Martins to the Malcolms to the JFKs and so forth and so on. The numbers are endless. We've had lots of good people. But I thought about McCain because when McCain died, it was like Lindsey Graham had a lobotomy and it removed part of his brain. He lost his humanity and his consciousness. When they did a lobotomy, people's personality changed. So maybe that's what they did to Lindsey Graham. I don't know. But I didn't just think about them. I thought about Ellis Marsalis, New Orleans jazz pianist. He was a humanitarian. He was a great musician. He would teach anybody, but he was an even greater man. I thought about him because somewhere around April the 1st, no April Fool, he succumbed to the coronavirus. He, like so many, countless others, friends and family, now over 200,000 of us have friends and family, someone that we've known, some bodies that we've known that has succumbed to this coronavirus. And this idiot is still saying that, well, we got a vaccination somewhere out there, and at some point it's just going to fade away like magic. Even after he admitted that he meant to downplay this so that the market would not panic. I thought of an imperfect man named George Floyd, like another imperfect man. And I'm not saying he was biblical like Noah, but I'm saying God used him just like he did Noah to tell us something. So we have to be listening. We have to be attentive. We have to open not only our these two eyes, we have to open our third eye and allow ourselves to see the obvious. It's really not that difficult, people. You see, I'm like Batman. My superpower is not that I can fly or that I'm invisible, or my superpower is that I give a shit about things that affect generations to come, especially when it seems that nobody else gives a shit. Everybody in their dog spot has a podcast now. I have a podcast for one and only one reason. I give a shit about where this country is headed. My superpower is my legacy. Leave this country as my parents' generation envisioned it, better than I found it. My profanity is my emotions boiling over. When it comes to a point, it overflows in some shits and some fucks and some, they come out of my mouth. But you know me, if I was talking to you, I would never say that. I would never. I give a shit about things that we can't control. I give a shit because I urge you guys to give a shit. I urge you guys to act. We got 39 days. After hearing of some of my podcasts, some socially inept people would say that I'm a racist and all I talk about is black issues. But I say this, I'm a black man. I'm a heterosexual black man who's articulating for a people who looks like me. When a Jewish man or woman articulates for their kind, nobody says they just talk about Jewish issues. When an LBGTQ talks about issues that affect their community, nobody looks at them and says they just talk about things that affect their community. They say it's a voice that needs to be heard. And that's where I am. So that's my superpower. Me being a superhero, hey, sometimes it hurt like hell. I get here and I clown with you and I dance, and afterwards my neck hurt like hell. But it's all right. I'm not complaining because my mama always told me, son, when you think you got it bad, look around you. And when I go to the VA and I see people with limbs that don't work, I see people with limbs that are no longer there. When I see people who are not in their right frame of mind, I may be a little cracked, but about out of 7 days, I'm all here. All I could say is I have nothing to complain about. I'm not as good as some, but I'm better than most. So for that, I'm not apologizing for the message that I say, for the message that I deliver. I'm not apologizing for my emotions. I'm not apologizing for how I say what I say, because it's not what you look like. It's not what you say when you say what you're saying. It's what you say, how you're saying it, how you mean what you say. So that's me expressing myself. Pay close attention. If you pay close attention, my message is never about black and white. My message is about the haves, that's the rich and wealthy, the powerful, and the have nots, that's the rest of us. Those that barely have a pot to piss in and a window to throw it out. So that's why I thank you people week after week when you come back to hear what I have to say. And I know you like me are tired of this. We got 39 more days. Let's finish strong. You see, the greedy enlist the desperate have nots, the poor and desperate, to deliver a message for them, to make it seem that somehow the things that they're doing is okay. It's all right. Because every now and then they send me a morsel, they throw me a morsel, and look, I'm working. And he's done this, that, and other for me. Well, as Brown once said, I don't want nobody to give me nothing. Open up the door and let me get it myself. Bible says, give a man a fish he eats for a meal. Teach him to fish. I'm going to expound on it. Let him fish. Allow him to fish. And he will eat for life. So with that, folks, I'm going to stop it right here. Stop it right here. Tell you this. These people do it sometimes for attention. They do it for the money. It's like what they call the Stockholm syndrome. They've been in captivity here for so long that they praise the person that has been opposing them. They praise their captors now because they've been brainwashed. They don't know any better. So I wish that I had the humanity. I wish I had the compassion to forgive them, but I can't. I can't because as long as they're being rewarded, somebody's going to continue to do it. I want to thank you guys for tuning in tonight. I want to thank you guys for being with me tonight, last Thursday night, and every Thursday. I love you, and a damn thing you could do about it. As always, I want to urge you people. Some people have been trickling over to my YouTube. BA, a Black Agenda, space, IGS2S. I got something to say. ABA space IGS2S. A Black Agenda. I got something to say. Go to my YouTube page, subscribe, hit that bell, ding a lang a lang. That way, when I go and I'm doing my little crazy sound checks and my camera angles, and I'm checking out my microphone and whatever I'm doing, you'll get a notification. And when you see me, it won't always be this heavy, heavy stuff. See you next week, same Baptiste time, same Baptiste place. 39 days. Let's do this. Let's finish strong. Let's stay engaged. Let's stay energized. Let's let them know that we're not standing for the bullshit. There is a consequence. If you don't serve us, we're getting rid of you behind. Talk to your people in other states. Reach out to those that's next door. Reach out to your family and friends and let them know any vote that's not for Biden is a vote for Trump. That means if you decide to vote or write in for Joe Smuckatelli to be funny, that's a vote for Donald Trump. If you stay your behind home and choose not to vote, that is a vote for Trump. You need to show up to the polls. You need to show up to the polls. You need to vote blue down the line. Not only do we have to get Biden in, we have to flip 5 of those chairs in the Senate, and we have to maintain our majority in the House of Representatives as well. It's always important, folks. Love. Love you to death. Peace. God grease. Much love, people. I'm out of here. Good night.